What would you do if you were 11 years old, traveled hundreds of miles to chase your dream, and got rejected 47 times in one day? Taylor Swift sat down in a Nashville lobby, pulled out her guitar, and sang one song. That song changed music history. It was a Tuesday in November 2001. Taylor Allison Swift was 11 years old, sitting in the passenger seat of her mother's car, driving down I-81 from Reading, Pennsylvania to Nashville, Tennessee. It was a 7-hour drive, and Taylor had spent most of it with a notebook in her lap, writing lyrics and rehearsing what she'd say when she walked into those record label offices. "Mom, what if they say no?" Taylor asked as they crossed into Tennessee. Andrea Swift glanced at her daughter. "Then we go to the next one. But what if they all say no? Then we come back and try again." "Taylor, you're 11 years old. You have time." But Taylor didn't feel like she had time. She'd been writing songs since she was 9, performing at local festivals and fairs around Pennsylvania, entering every talent competition she could find. She'd won most of them, and every single person who heard her sing said the same thing: "You need to go to Nashville." So here they were. Andrea had taken a week off work. They'd printed out a list of every record label on Music Row from the library computer. They had Taylor's demo CD, recorded in their basement with equipment her dad had saved up to buy, burned onto 50 discs with Taylor Swift, age 11 inches, written in Sharpie on each one. Taylor had dressed carefully that morning. A denim jacket over a sundress, cowboy boots that were slightly too big because her mom said she'd grow into them, and her lucky friendship bracelet that her best friend Abigail had made her. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a ponytail. She looked like a kid because she was a kid. They checked into a cheap motel just outside Nashville, then drove straight to Music Row. The plan was simple: walk into every record label they could find, hand them a demo, and ask for a chance to audition. The first rejection came at 9:37 a.m. at Sony Music Nashville. "Honey, you're adorable," the receptionist said, not unkindly. "But we don't take unsolicited demos, and you'd need an appointment with AANDR, which is booked months out." "Can I just play one song?" Taylor asked. "Right here. It'll take 3 minutes." "Sorry, sweetie. That's not how it works." They left Taylor's demo CD on the desk and moved to the next label, Capitol Records, Nashville. Same story. "You're too young. Come back when you're 18. Warner Brothers Records. "Do you have management? Representation?" "No. Then we can't help you." "Curb Records. Country music for kids. Doesn't sell. Come back when you have more life experience." "Monument Records. You're talented, but you look too young. The image won't work." By noon they'd been to 12 labels, 12 rejections. Taylor was trying not to cry, but her eyes were red, and her voice was getting smaller with each. "No thank you," they received. "Maybe we should get lunch," Andrea suggested gently. "No," Taylor said firmly. "We came here to do this. Let's keep going." They hit 15 labels by 2 p.m., 20 by 3 p.m. Some receptionists were kind, some were dismissive, some barely looked up from their computers. A few took the demo CD. Most handed it back. One told them that little girls who want to be singers are a dime a dozen in this town. That one made Taylor cry in the parking lot. "We can stop," Andrea said, holding her daughter. "Taylor, we can stop whenever you want." "No," Taylor said through tears. "Not yet." By 4 p.m., they'd been rejected by 37 record labels. Taylor's feet hurt. Her voice was hoarse from introducing herself over and over. Her demo CDs were running out, but there were still addresses on their list, so they kept going. RCA Nashville. "Too young." Arista Nashville. Not what we're looking for. BNA Records. Come back in 5 years. 40 rejections. 40-1.40-2. At 4:30 p.m., they walked into a smaller label called Big Machine Records, though it wasn't called that yet. It was still in its formation stages, not even officially launched. The office was modest, tucked into a building that had seen better days. The lobby was small, with worn carpet and a receptionist desk that looked like it had been there since 1975. The receptionist was a tired-looking woman in her 50s named Diane, who was eating a sandwich and watching a small TV behind her desk. "Can I help you?" she asked, not looking up. "Hi," Taylor said, and her voice cracked. She was so tired. "My name is Taylor Swift. I'm 11 years old, and I'm a singer-songwriter. I was wondering if I could leave my demo with someone in AANDAR, or maybe audition for—" "We're not taking submissions right now," Diane interrupted. "The company's still forming. We don't even have a full roster yet, but that means you have room, right?" Taylor pressed. "That means you're looking for artists?" Diane finally looked up. She saw this skinny 11-year-old kid with a guitar case slung over her shoulder, exhausted, clearly on the verge of tears, with a woman who must be her mother standing supportively behind her. "How many places have you been to today?" Diane asked. "This is number 43, Andrea answered. Diane's expression softened slightly. 43? Today? Since 9 this morning, Taylor confirmed. Diane sighed. "Look, kid, I admire your determination, but you're 11, and this is Nashville. There are thousands of talented kids who come through here every year, and 99% of them never make it. It's not personal. It's just math." "Can I at least leave my CD?" Taylor asked. "Sure," Diane said, but in a tone that clearly meant it would end up in the trash. Taylor placed her second-to-last CD on the desk. They turned to leave. That's when Taylor stopped. She stood in that lobby, staring at the door, and something inside her just broke. Or maybe it crystallized. She'd driven 7 hours. She'd been rejected 43 times. She'd been told she was too young, too blonde, too naive, too much of a long shot. And she was tired of hearing no. "I'm not leaving," Taylor said quietly. Andrea turned. "What?" "I'm not leaving until someone listens to me. Not a CD, not a demo. Me. Actually me." "Taylor." "No, Mom." Taylor's voice was stronger now. "I came here to sing. I've been talking all day about singing. I've been handing out CDs of me singing. But nobody has actually heard me sing. Not one person. So I'm not leaving this lobby until someone does." Diane looked up from her desk. "Honey, you can't just—" "Yes, I can," Taylor interrupted. She was crying now, but her voice was steady. "I can sit right here and wait. I can sing right here. This is a music company, right? In a building full of people who work in music, someone in this building needs to actually hear music before they say no." She unslung her guitar case, sat down on the worn carpet in the middle of the lobby, and pulled out her guitar. It was a small acoustic, covered in stickers, one from every state fair she'd performed at. "Miss, you can't do that here," Diane started, but Taylor had already started tuning her guitar. Andrea sat down next to her daughter on the floor. "If she's staying, I'm staying." Diane picked up her phone. "I'm going to have to call security." "That's fine," Taylor said. She finished tuning and looked up at Diane with red, determined eyes. "But they're going to have to physically carry me out, because I'm singing this song first." And then, sitting cross-legged on the lobby floor of a record label that didn't even exist yet, 11-year-old Taylor Swift started playing her guitar. The song she sang wasn't perfect. It was an early version of what would eventually become part of her songwriting style. Narrative, specific, emotional. It was about a boy in her 6th grade class who didn't know she existed, about feeling invisible, about watching someone you care about someone else. The lyrics were simple but genuine. The melody was rough but memorable. But here's what made it special. It was real. Every word came from an actual 11-year-old's life. There was no manufactured Nashville polish, no adult songwriter trying to write from a kid's perspective. This was just a kid who'd lived something and wrote about it in her own words. Taylor's voice cracked on the high notes. Her fingers weren't perfectly clean on the chord changes, but she sang with her whole heart, eyes closed, lost in the song the way only someone who's poured genuine emotion into their art can be lost. When she finished, she opened her eyes. Diane was staring at her. The TV behind the desk was muted, and standing in the doorway to the back offices was a man in his mid-30s, arms crossed, leaning against the doorframe. "How long have you been standing there?" Diane asked him. "Since she said she wasn't leaving," he answered. His name was Scott Borchetta, and he was in the process of founding Big Machine Records. "I heard the commotion and came to see what was happening." He walked into the lobby and stood in front of Taylor, who was still sitting on the floor, guitar in lap, face red and tear-streaked. "You wrote that?" he asked. Taylor nodded. "All of it? Lyrics and melody?" "Yes, sir." "How many songs have you written?" "About 40. You're 11?" "Yes, sir. Almost 12. Scott was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Stand up." Taylor scrambled to her feet, hastily putting her guitar back in its case. "I'm going to tell you something," Scott said, "and I need you to really hear me. Can you do that?" Taylor nodded, terrified this was going to be rejection number 44. Every single one of those labels that said no to you today, they're going to regret it. Every single one. Because what you just did, refusing to leave, sitting on the floor, singing anyway, that's not something I can teach someone. That's not something that comes with age or experience. That's who you are, and that matters more than anything else. Taylor's eyes filled with tears. "I can't sign you today," Scott continued. "You're 11. There are legal issues, parent contracts, a whole mess of things to figure out. But I'm going to give you my direct number, and when you turn 13, not 18, 13, I want you to call me, because I'm going to be looking for artists exactly like you. Artists who write their own songs. Artists who refuse to take no for an answer. Artists who will sit on a lobby floor and sing until someone listens." He pulled out a business card and handed it to Andrea. "Swift, your daughter is going to be a star. I don't say that lightly. I've been in this business for 15 years, and I've never seen an 11-year-old with this kind of determination, combined with this kind of talent." Taylor was crying openly now. "So it's not a no?" "It's not a no," Scott confirmed. "It's a not yet, but definitely." He looked at the guitar case covered in state fair stickers. "Keep playing those fairs. Keep writing songs. Keep being exactly who you are. Don't let anyone in this town change you or tell you to be more palatable or more marketable. The fact that you're 11 and writing songs about 6th grade is your strength, not your weakness. When you're 13 and writing songs about middle school, that'll be your strength. When you're 16 and writing about high school, that'll be your strength. Stay real, stay specific, and stay stubborn." Taylor and Andrea left that building with Scott Borchetta's business card and something more valuable than a record deal validation. Proof that the rejections weren't because she wasn't good enough. They were because she hadn't found the right person yet. They got back in the car. Andrea looked at her daughter. "Are you okay?" "I just sang on a record label floor until someone listened," Taylor said. And then she started laughing. "I literally sat on the floor and refused to leave." "You did? That was insane." "It was." "Did it work?" "It worked." Taylor Swift turned 13 on December 13th, 2003. The very next day she called Scott Borchetta. Within a year she was one of the first artists signed to Big Machine Records. At 14 she became the youngest artist ever signed by Sony ATV Music Publishing. At 16 she released her debut album, which eventually sold over 7 million copies. But none of that would have happened if an 11-year-old girl hadn't refused to leave a lobby without being heard. Today, Taylor Swift is one of the biggest artists in the world. She's won 11 Grammy Awards. She's broken countless records. She's filled stadiums with hundreds of thousands of fans. But every single one of those achievements traces back to a moment when she was 11 years old, sitting on a worn carpet in a Nashville lobby, singing a song she'd written about 6th grade. The lesson isn't that you have to be aggressive or demanding. The lesson is that sometimes when you've been told no 43 times, you have to create the 44th opportunity yourself. You have to refuse to accept that closed doors are final. You have to be willing to sit down, pull out your guitar, and sing until someone listens. Scott Borchetta still has the demo CD Taylor left on Diane's desk that day. He's never played it. He says he doesn't need to. Because the real Taylor Swift, the one who matters, was the girl who sang live, unpolished, real, and refused to leave until she'd been heard. That's the Taylor Swift who changed music history. Not the one on the overproduced demo CD. The one who was brave enough to sing when everyone told her no. 43 rejections. One song. One moment of refusing to give up. That's how superstars are born. If this story reminded you that closed doors are only final if you accept them as final, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes the only difference between making it and giving up is one more attempt, one more song, one more moment of being brave enough to sing, even when no one's listening. 11-year-old Taylor Swift sang on a lobby floor, and the world listened.